Your home for New York Islanders hockey. WEPN New York. A Good Karma Brands radio station. This is Sports Center All Night. Here's Jay Reynolds.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, a career high on the court Tuesday. The Pelicans find out they're without Zion for most of the month. And is Jim Harbaugh flirting with the NFL once again? We've got those stories coming up here on Sports Center All Night. But speaking of the NFL, it was more than 24 hours ago. The Monday Night Football game was halted in Cincinnati when the Bills' Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field in cardiac arrest. And in the time since then, there have been vigils outside the hospital, a flood of money pouring into the charity Hamlin set up during his final year at college. And there's been a host of prayers as his team, the football world, and the world in general await updates on his condition. On Tuesday, his family issuing a statement thanking the public for the outpouring of support, asked for continued prayers. Hamlin's uncle, Dorian Glenn, telling ESPN's Coley Harvey outside the hospital Tuesday evening, Hamlin is sedated and, quote, improving from where he was yesterday.
They really talked to my brother and my sister-in-law a lot more. I just been kind of like hearing as much as I can and really just being here to be in support for him. And, I know he's still here and I know he's fighting. And I know that, we appreciate all the prayers and support we've been getting from like people all over not just the country, but the world. And I know that there's power in prayer, and for all the prayer that we've been getting, it really means a difference for my family to see that. And I know it'll mean a difference to Mario when he sees that as well.
Hamlin's uncle, Dorian Glenn, adding that they're just going to continue to pray, saying he knows that Hamlin's in great hands with the medical team that he has in Cincinnati. ESPN's Coley Harvey has been at the hospital since Hamlin arrived Monday night.
Well, on Tuesdays, the scene was about the fans. We began seeing more and more fans show up to pay their respect, to pay some level of homage to Damar Hamlin as he continues to try to progress through this injury. I caught up with a fan named Andrew, who is actually from Western New York early in the day. Andrew came down to Cincinnati for Monday night's game, was at the game, and then made his way over Tuesday morning to pay those respects. In fact, at one point, I noticed that he was kneeling in front of a University of Cincinnati Medical Center sign for about 3 or 4 minutes in prayer. And after he got up and was finished, I walked over along with Elena Getzenberg, who was our ESPN Bills reporter. She was with me at the time. We walked up to him and asked him why. Why was he here? What was he feeling? And the one thing that he told me is that he still felt lost. He felt like he was in shock. He hadn't fully processed what all was going on with this injury. And that's a sentiment that so many people who have stopped through here today have also been experiencing and been discussing with us. One personality of note, I should mention, who was in University of Cincinnati Medical Center tonight was the executive president of the NFL Players Association, DeMaurice Smith. I'm told that he came in along with the medical and mental health staff of the Players Association just to talk with Damar Hamlin's family to make sure that the family was being heard by them, that they knew that the PA was in their corner.
Damar Hamlin sedated in the ICU in critical condition. As we know, it's been gut-wrenching to wait and hear any updates on his situation, but that's not uncommon. Dr. Jennifer Haith, she's not treating Hamlin, but she is a cardiologist at Columbia University, says the procedures for patients are pretty well laid out in these situations.
Usually when someone has a cardiac arrest, they're brought into the intensive care unit. The intensivist team will decide whether they think he needs to be cooled. Cooling is a mechanism that is used to try to preserve neurologic function in these scenarios. The cooling process can take 24 to 48 hours. Patients are cooled and then they have to be rewarmed. During that process, patients are very heavily sedated so that they're never uncomfortable, that they're not shivering, that they're not awake and suffering in any way. And then only when they've been rewarmed and only when all of their sedation has been lightened can neurologists and intensivists really assess their neurologic status and function. The other things that are probably going on are, imaging of his brain, imaging of his heart, trying to understand Did something happen anatomically? Was this an arrhythmia? Did he have an underlying heart problem? Was there a lung problem? The list goes on. And so those are the kinds of things that are being done for him to support him. And hopefully they will see signs of neurologic recovery.
Testing continues, as does the treatment in this crucial window as he remains in critical condition. And as for what the general concerns would be at this point for a patient who's gone through a cardiac arrest?
Really brain function. So the brain is exquisitely sensitive to oxygen. And during a cardiac arrest, obviously oxygen is not getting to the brain well. So urgent CPR can help provide that. And then as soon as a breathing tube is put in, obviously they're going to be able to deliver oxygen well. The next coming days will be about his brain, his end organs. They will probably focus on trying to regulate his temperature, his electrolytes, looking at his kidney function, his liver function. Some institutions will cool patients who have had a cardiac arrest in order to drop the temperature and allow for better brain recovery. But the brain recovery can be slow. But sometimes we can be very surprised and it can be fast. So at this point, I think he's probably receiving excellent care, following all the guidelines, and hopefully he will have a swift recovery with intact neurologic function.
Dr. Jennifer Haith, a cardiologist at Columbia University, Sports Center All Night, ESPN Radio. The crisis began in the first quarter of the Bills game in Cincinnati Monday night, right after Hamlin made a tackle on Bengals receiver T. Higgins. Higgins' right shoulder going into Hamlin's chest. Hamlin got up following the hit, then immediately collapsed. And as we know, it was cardiac arrest. CPR was administered on the field. Buffalo offensive lineman Deion Dawkins was on the Bills sideline when it happened.
As an athlete, when you're sitting on the sideline, sadly, every game, somebody gets nicked up and somebody goes down. So you're kind of sitting on the bench, and then you kind of look around and you kind of just see how everybody's reacting. And then when the medical staff is sprinting on at a faster pace, and when the guys' emotions are on the field, with their hands on their head or they're turning away, that's kind of when you realize all right, something drastically is different. And then it makes you stand up, and then you stand up from the bench or from what you're doing. And then you kind of give that situation all of your attention. And that's kind of what happened. He was, just down. And then, with him being down or on a knee, it brings all of your attention to what is going on.
And it was at that point medical personnel were acting with obvious, deliberate purpose at a rapid rate.
What you see is a brother go down, and then the beautiful thing that you see is his brothers coming together and uniting and being, vulnerable and letting their emotions fly. When you're a group of men and you're supposed to be the strongest guys in the world, football players, and to, see everybody come together with prayer and with love. That's really the beautiful thing of what was seen yesterday. And besides our brother and going down to a knee, that's the lowest I want to call it. But DeMar and went down on a knee, and now he's fighting just to stand back up tall.
The game was postponed. Everyone was sent home. Most of the Bills team returned to Buffalo overnight. How about the team's mindset regarding returning to the field for a game?
Anything that we have to give is for DeMar and his family. We understand that we have a job and that this is still what it is, but every emotion, every bit of energy that we have, we're giving it to DeMar. We're giving it to his family. We're giving it to his best friends, and we're giving it to guys like Dane and Trey and those DBs that are closest with him. And we're giving them all of that love because those guys need it as well as the other rooms too. But all of his guys need it, his parents, his father, they all need it. And that's all that we have to give. And we're giving it all to the family, and we're not worried about and nothing else.
Bills offensive lineman Deion Dawkins earlier on SportsCenter. Right now, SportsCenter all night here on ESPN Radio. Monday's game postponed. The NFL making the announcement on Tuesday that the game will not resume this week. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler.
I think that obviously we can look at this originally and just say logistics would make it very difficult to get this game played and then resume the schedule this weekend. But speaking with the league on this, league spokesperson Brian McCarthy said far more simply that we talked to the clubs, the union, and decided it was best not to play in light of the tragic circumstances, that it didn't even get to the logistical concerns. So I think that pretty immediately, when the league looked at this, they decided that, no, this game won't be played this week, regardless of the impacts, by the way, which it does have on this week's weekend's games based on, implications of the AFC North Division champion. There's all sorts of little implications. The league ultimately saying not playing the game this week. That's all there is to it.
Okay, that's to this specific game. What kind of discussions are being held with league officials about even playing Week 18?
Well, the league tells me, again, Brian McCarthy, spokesperson for the league, says, as we announced today, we are focused on playing Week 18 as scheduled. So they've also made clear to every team that they do have, counselors on hand. They have all sorts of different things in place for these teams, for these players, but ultimately they do plan on keeping the schedule going through this weekend. We can point out that the Bengals and the Ravens, there was really a decision based on what the outcome of last night's game would result in whether they play at 1 or 4 p.m. That hasn't been announced yet. So there are these little scheduling things that the league will still have to do. But ultimately, at this point, we see very clearly where their priorities are, but they are still saying, though, that all-encompassing, on a macro level, the games this weekend are still scheduled to be played.
The first games on the Week 18 schedule are Saturday afternoon. There's a pair of games Saturday, Chiefs, Raiders in Las Vegas, the first scheduled game, followed by the Titans and Jaguars in Jacksonville. The Bills are scheduled to host the Patriots on Sunday. The Bengals have that Sunday matchup with the Ravens that Jeremy mentioned. Time still to be determined, but it's a Bengals-Ravens matchup on Sunday. A career high and an historic number of points allowed, both of those happening on Tuesday. You'll hear it next. SportsCenter All Night continues. It's ESPN Radio.
This is SportsCenter All Night.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Oh, want better visibility to get you through the winter? A new pair of premium wipers can help. Right now, you can earn a $10 bonus reward when you buy a pair of Rain-X Quantum Wiper Blades. See better and stay safe on the road all winter long. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Offer available to AutoZone Rewards members.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
You can't miss a moment with Greeny.
My take was not a referendum on whether Zach Wilson is good or not. He's bad. I mean, he is scarily bad. Part of the issue is the people developing him have not done a good job. Most of the blame goes on him. The kid is regressing at warp speed, and I don't think they do things that play to his strengths. There are questions. I just don't think they are limited to the quarterback.
Greeny, weekday mornings at 10 a.m. on 98.7 ESPN.
Transitioning out of the military, it's difficult. Just about everything around you changes. I would get phone calls that brothers were dying, some of them to suicide. And I'd found myself in another cold cemetery. And I started to wonder if I was next. It's a struggle to know that you're facing challenges, but not be ready to face them. Sleep doesn't come easy. And when it comes, it doesn't last long. You're tired all the time. I didn't reach out for that help, but thank God my wife did. She got me registered for Wounded Warrior Project, taught talking to somebody that would listen to me and understood my story helped me realize that it was time to change. There's a new fight. There's a new mission, and that's something I'm eternally grateful for.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
LA's mega sports station.
710 Max in the morning.
LA Sports Talk all day long. 710 ESPN.
Sports Center All Night continues with Jay Reynolds.
Quite the outpouring of support over the past 24 hours plus for Damar Hamlin. As you've undoubtedly heard, he started a GoFundMe for a toy drive fundraiser during his final year in Pitt a couple of years ago. The goal was $2,500. Took him just over 2 years to reach that goal, $2,500. Since his cardiac arrest on the field Monday night, donations have poured in $6 million worth into that GoFundMe. Matthew Stafford, a $12,000 donation. Tom Brady giving $10,000. So did Russell Wilson, wrestler Chris Jericho. Speaking of quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show on Tuesday.
I was thinking last night, every thought kind of, crosses your mind. What are they going to do with the game? They're just going to move it to tomorrow and, all right, we're going to, and then, then what about playoffs and all this other that, gets thrown around that doesn't really matter. I don't know. I've been a part of a few games where they've carted guys off and we've had players with neck injuries and it shakes you to the core.
Emotional night all around for those in the NFL on Monday. Packers scheduled to return to the field for the Sunday night game when they face the Lions. Sports Center All Night, ESPN Radio. Emotional night for the Buffalo Sabres as they return to the ice. They beat the Capitals in overtime 5-4. Sabres with 7 wins in their last 8 games. Alex Ovechkin, 7th multi-goal game this season, 165th career multi-goal game all time, but comes in the Capitals' loss. Ovechkin now with 808 career goals, 86 shy of tying Wayne Gretzky for the NHL record. The NBA on Monday had quite the performance from Donovan Mitchell. He will return to the court on Wednesday when the Cavaliers host the Suns. He's coming off that 71-point performance.
When did you start to feel like, you know what, this is going to be the night?
Honestly, after I hit missed the free throw and I made the bucket, everything else, I think I was at 50 before that. I think once that went in, I was like, all right, God's got a little something for me, because that could have gone left or right, but when it went right to me and I made the layup, I was like, all right. And that's why I started laughing in the huddle because I was like, all right, might as well go ahead and win the game. We made it this far. I would say this is probably the best moment of my career so far because, outside of maybe beating OKC in the first round of the playoffs my rookie year, because that was unexpected for me. And that was more than just one game. That was an entire series. But this one, it's not even just the fact that it was 71. I think as a group, the fact that we came back down 21 in the first half, never led the whole game. Guys making continuous plays. And we didn't even have our 2 stars in Darius and Evan. Guys came and showed up and helped out, contributed. Raul Neto always being ready to play when he's, called upon. Rolo coming in for his 7-8 minutes being a prime factor. Jetty Osman, Kevin Love, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, the list goes on. Lamar Stevens, Isaac Okoro. So all of us stepping up, when you're missing 2 guys who are as dominant as those 2 to be down. And we really weren't playing great, to start the game. And for us to come out and do what we did as a group, we all look at 71, but at the end of the day, I'm not at that point with my teammates' trust in our capabilities as a group.
Donovan Mitchell after his 71-point performance on Monday. Cavs host the Suns among the action on Wednesday in the NBA. Sports Center All Night, ESPN Radio. As for Tuesday, Another big performance on the NBA hardwood.
Giannis, left free throw line extended, puts it on the floor, drives to the cup again. Up and under. Look at that move from the big fella. The Greek Freak, he can do it in more than a few ways as he scores again. Kyle Kuzma will hand it off to Porzingis. He's defended by Giannis. Tries to attack on him. Giannis knocks it away, comes away with a steal. Here he goes. He's going one-on-one with Morris. Goes right at him and lays it in. He's not done yet. 55 points for the Greek Freak.
That was sounded on WTMJ. 55 for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the career high 55. As the Bucks beat the Wizards 123-113, the 55 points ties Giannis with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1971 and Brandon Jennings in 2009 for the second most in Bucks history. The franchise record belongs to Michael Redd. He had 57 in 2006. Giannis coming 2 points shy of that with his career high 55 on Tuesday for Giannis, his fourth career game with 50 points and 10 rebounds. Third different player since the merger in the mid-'70s to record a 3-game streak of 40 points and 10 rebounds. He scored 10 points in each quarter of a game for the first time in his career. Bucks get the win. Thunder and Celtics matching up, and this one was one-sided, and boy, was it ever.
J-Dub. Slicing left, bumped by Smart. Bucks into the paint, sets up Joe. Pump fakes free. Cranks an angle right three-pointer. Got another. Cha-ching with Thunder money ball. He is not your average, Joe. We all know that. Isaiah's got 17 and a half. 3 threes. Giddey will inbound near sideline front court. Gets it into K-Rich. Williams out front. Left to right on the perimeter. Sweeping right of the lane. On the wing to Dort. 10 to shoot. Plowing left. Away from Horford. Comes up and under. In the paint. Leans in. Floats a 5-footer that goes.
WWLS 98-1, the sports animal. Thunder, a 150-117 win over the Celtics. For the Thunder, the 150 points, most in a game since moving to OKC in 2008. They scored 48 in the third quarter, most by any team in a quarter since January of 1990. 50 points by the then Seattle Supersonics in the fourth quarter against the Heat. Jaylen Brown had 29 points. Jason Tatum, 27. For the Celtics, who are blown out, the 150 points, tied for the second most that they'd have allowed in team history. Kings and Jazz.
It's 111-109, a minute 5 and counting. Utah fans coming out of their seats to their feet. A sellout crowd of 18,200 plus watching Fox drive. The hammer thrown down with the left hand by De'Aaron Fox, as emphatic as it could be.
De'Aaron Fox with 37 points to match his season high as the Kings beat the Jazz 117-115. Jazz have lost 5 straight, matching the team's longest losing streak of the season. All 5 losses have been by 5 points or fewer. KHTK with the call. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. As we know, DeMar Hamlin from Western Pennsylvania decided to go to Pitt. And Pitt on the college basketball floor on Tuesday. An emotional night. Prayers were set up. And as for the game,
Bigman gets it in. Bigman into the forecourt. Steps from midcourt, throws it up, banks it home. But the buzzer sounds. It doesn't matter by how many. It matters how. And the Panthers have survived with a 68-65 win over Virginia.
68-65 as Pitt gets the win over 11th ranked Virginia as they pull the upset at home. Number 3, Kansas facing Texas Tech.
They get it to Isaacs. He drives, slips. No foul call. KU's got it. They lob it ahead to KJ. A 2-hand dunk is good. With 5 seconds to go, it's a 2-hand dunk by Adams, and Kansas goes up 3.
Kansas would win it by 3, 75-72. 3 straight wins against Texas Tech. They're 7-1 in their last 8 versus Texas Tech. 19 straight wins against unranked Texas Tech teams. The loss by Tech, their loss snaps a 29-game home win streak, was the second longest active streak in D1. Gonzaga with 75 straight wins at home. Texas Tech, they had their 29-game home win streak come to an end. 5 straight losses against top 25 opponents. Number 7, Alabama, 84-62 win over Ole Miss. Bama improving to 8-0 this season against unranked teams. 3rd straight season that they've won their first 2 games in conference play. Tennessee, 87-53 win over Mississippi State. Tennessee with a 24-game home win streak, 6th longest active streak in D1. As for Mississippi State, it's a 3-game losing streak after starting 11-0. Overtime, Vanderbilt outlasts South Carolina 84-79. Vanderbilt 64 points off the bench. Straight ahead, why things worked out as they did Monday night. Sports Center all night. It's ESPN Radio.
More Sports Center all night. Next.
What is going on, Laker fans? Alan Sliwa here. Want to introduce something brand new on our YouTube channel, ESPN LA. You got to get on there. You got to subscribe. Lakers Talk Daily. Monday through Friday, we're putting out Lakers content. We're reacting to games. So we're coming up with topics that we think Laker fans are interested in, and we're doing it Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, and it's all on ESPN LA. So get out on YouTube. Get on our ESPN LA page. Subscribe to the channel. And, of course, we read off your comments, and we get topics specifically from you.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A Jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans, it's a story that rings true. We learn to endure the heat in silence. We apply what we learn to life. The bills, the job, the family. Things we're expected to handle with ease. When life heats up around us, we just try to stay afloat. We let the water boil. Reaching out isn't easy, but you've never been interested in easy. You joined because you were not afraid of hard work. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait until the water boils. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the sheep sleeps tonight. Oh, in the jungle, the quiet jungle, the sheep sleeps tonight. Oh,
It just isn't the same without the lion. Join the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance today. Visit sdzwa.org.
Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Help us fight youth homelessness. Go to covenanthouse.org.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Every second counts in a poison emergency. That's why Poison Help is standing by 24/7 to provide free assistance in over 100 languages. Save Poison Help as a contact in your phone today. Poison Help, 1-800-222-1222.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max in the morning on LA's mega sports station. LA Sports Talk all day long. 710 ESPN.
Sports Sports Center All Night continues with Jay Reynolds.
College football has a major showdown coming up in a matter of days. We'll have more on that straight ahead. But pro football and really the world at large continues to send prayers as we've been keeping tabs on what's going on in Cincinnati over the past 24 hours plus as the Bills' Damar Hamlin continues to be in the ICU in Cincinnati. Hamlin's uncle telling ESPN Tuesday evening Hamlin is sedated and, quote, improving from where he was yesterday. But he's still in the ICU in critical condition. Hamlin, Pennsylvania native, stayed home to go to Pitt before being drafted into the NFL. In Pittsburgh, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin.
Man, it's a really personal thing for me, being a Pittsburgher. And that young man being a Pittsburgher, I've known that guy probably since he was about 12. Just got a lot of respect and love for him as a human being, his commitment to the pursuit of his goals and dreams of doing what it is he's doing right now, which is playing in the NFL. And to watch him make personal decisions and make that a realization, it's just an honor to get to know young people like that. Had an opportunity to express that to him whenever I see him. We've played Buffalo each of the last 2 seasons, and he and I get to have a moment because it's just cool to not only appreciate these guys in terms of where they are now, but to know them since they were younger people and to watch their maturation, their development, to watch them, earn what they've been chasing. It's just really a cool thing. And he's an example of that. I got a lot of love for that young man. We lifted him and that organization up in prayer. That's not obviously something that you ever want to see.
Hamlin having CPR performed on him on the field in the first quarter of the game Monday night after going into cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest, heart attack. A lot of people have been using those two terms, which are very different, according to Dr. Benjamin Abella, the director for the Center of Resuscitation Science at Penn.
A heart attack is when you have a blockage in one of the blood vessels to the heart. That blockage then leads to a lack of blood supply to a small part of the heart, and that can cause chest pain, shortness of breath, and it's a serious problem. It needs medical attention. But in most cases, people do not die. In most cases, people do not need CPR or have a cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest, on the other hand, is when the heart stops suddenly without much warning, maybe without any warning, and it's uniformly fatal without the delivery of CPR. So they're very different. And heart attacks are from, the things that you've heard of, bad diet, not exercising, high blood pressure, all those things that we all suffer in our society, and that accumulates blockages in arteries. Cardiac arrest, you may have perfectly normal arteries. You may have a perfectly normal heart. There are other reasons why you might have a cardiac arrest.
When someone goes into cardiac arrest, what do they do at the hospital?
So after someone's pulse is restored from cardiac arrest, there's a number of things that have to happen over the next hours to day in the hospital. And it's part of a bundle of care that we call post-cardiac arrest care. And it involves a number of key interventions. One of the centerpieces of care that I'm certain he is receiving is something called targeted temperature management, or TTM. And TTM is the careful control of people's body temperatures to lessen inflammation and lessen brain swelling. And often people are actually cooled. So people's body temperatures are reduced, sometimes several degrees. And that has profound effects on brain inflammation and brain swelling. And it's been shown to improve outcomes from cardiac arrest. So that's one of the things. You're also going to be paying very close attention to blood pressure. You need to maintain an adequate blood pressure to get blood moving into the brain to start the healing process. And that's not as simple as it sounds. When people are critically ill, they often have low blood pressure and other problems such as that. And then third, and very importantly, they're going to be doing continuous neurologic monitoring the brain, because sometimes people after cardiac arrest will have seizures or other secondary problems that if you monitor for it, you can treat it. And so through a combination of careful brain monitoring, temperature control, and hemodynamic management, this is what occurs over the first day or two. And I know the folks at University of Cincinnati pretty well, and I know they're doing these sorts of things, and he's at a very good place. I can say that.
Dr. Benjamin Abella, not treating Hamlin, but he is the director for resuscitation science at Penn. After what we've seen over the past 24 hours plus, there was a host of medical personnel on hand at the game Monday night and the care that Damar Hamlin received, all due to the extensive preparation that was in place. You probably have it at your place of work, your local hockey rink, your Little League fields, the EAP, the Emergency Action Plan. ESPN injury expert Stefania Bell.
They have what's called an Emergency Action Plan, or EAP, and every club has one, and it lays out the very specific details of a protocol of what is to happen should there be an emergency event like this. It details the personnel, who does what, where those things are, and they execute a practice of this, a dress rehearsal essentially, every year before the season begins, where everybody, including the club personnel, independent personnel, even local EMTs who might be providing services that day, they come to the stadium, they practice it so that when the season rolls around, everyone is ready, those roles have been identified. You hate to see anything like this happen, of course, but if it's going to happen, to be in a place where there is all the personnel you could possibly want in that scenario, that's what you saw. You know, there are roughly 30 medical personnel on any game day between the people who are there for each team that are part of the club, the independent personnel, as well as game day folks like the EMTs, et cetera. They have specialists, including an airway management physician who is there to intubate should that become necessary. Many of the medicine providers have emergency or critical care backgrounds, and they are there as well. And before each game, just to review, there is what they call the 60-minute medical meeting, and everyone gathers, including the referees. And that's so that everyone can identify each other, raise hands. I'm the head athletic trainer. I'm the head team physician. The visiting folks are there as well. The referees identify the communication system, how that's going to work between the personnel on the field as well as the athletic trainer spotters in the booth, because as you know, they can call down. So all of those things are laid out. And one of the key things is that they identify which physician will be what they call the code leader. Should there be cardiac arrest, one person is named the leader, and everyone knows when they leave that meeting who that is, which is critical because, as you saw, with so many people on the field, there is no time to be wasted saying who's going to do what. This is a very well laid out plan that everybody hopes never to have happen. I spoke with one team physician last night who's been in the league for over 30 years, said he's never seen anything like this, but they know exactly what to do when they're called upon. And it really a credit to the personnel, all of them who hustled last night and did exactly what they were supposed to give Damar Hamlin the optimal chance for recovery.
ESPN injury expert Stefania Bell, who has been in those pregame meetings in the past at NFL games. SportsCenter all night, ESPN Radio. The game was postponed Monday night. The NFL making the announcement Tuesday that the game would not resume this week. No changes, at least at this point, to the Week 18 schedule. As for what you say to your players after an event like this, ESPN analyst Herm Edwards.
There's no game plan for this. There's no script. You know, as a football coach, there's always a script. There's always something you can say. You watch what happens. You gather the information. You go to the sideline. You tell the players, look, we're going to adjust. We're going to have to do this. Whether it's during the game, at halftime, in preparation to a game, when the game's over, going into next week, how you want to do things. This is on nobody's play calling sheet. And when you watch it unfold in real time, and I've been involved in this league for, playing football and coaching football for 55 years, this is very sobering.
Same sentiments being expressed just about everywhere, whether it's in person or on social media. ESPN's Bart Scott saying it could have happened to anybody playing on the field. And as far as how the Damar Hamlin situation will change the NFL?
The NFL has tried to take the head out of the game. And, we always think about, the violent hits. We always associate that with the defensive players and targeting and lowering their head. But they did put in a rule in maybe 5 years ago that offensive players can't use the crown of their helmet as a weapon, which is kind of what T. Higgins did, not trying to put blame on T. Higgins, but that's something that they tried to take out.
Now explain that
they should put more emphasis. They never make that call.
But explain that to the viewer. So tell us what happened.
Yes.
That you're talking about. What exactly did of course, unintentionally, what exactly did T. Higgins do last night to Hamlin?
Well, right before the tackle, he lowers his helmet and he kind of throws his body into his chest. He's standing up because he's thinking he's got to chase T. Higgins at an angle to make a tackle. So he didn't expect T. Higgins to launch his body back into him. It's one of those things that a lot of times you see it as a linebacker, unblocked, unengaged running back comes through the hole, and he knows the contact's coming, so he lowers his helmet, and you can't get underneath him. So he's able to get into you, and your chest is exposed. So they've taken that out of the game, but they don't really regulate it as much as possible. I expect the league will be a lot more vigilant when it comes to that and using that penalty.
And as for those changes moving forward, ESPN front office insider Mike Tannenbaum.
I don't think there's much you can do, to be candid. Like, you could continue to legislate, targeting in college and all the emphasis we're putting on keeping the head and neck safe. But your point's really fair. Like, what happened was it was a routine play. It was a hard hit. And what was even stunning to me, guys, was he stood up when it first happened and then collapsed. And obviously, the rest we know. So I don't think you could legislate everything, but I do think you could put still a greater emphasis on player safety.
Week 18 scheduled to move forward, although the NFL is saying on Tuesday this game will not resume this week. SportsCenter All Night, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Save on commercial auto insurance from Progressive. Get a fast quote at progressivecommercial.com. Panthers owner David Tepper has had a conversation with Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh about the opening that Carolina is going to have at head coach once this season ends. This conversation was not characterized as an interview. The interviews won't begin until after Carolina finishes the season under interim coach Steve Wilks. Wilks, according to sources, is considered a strong candidate for the full-time job after he replaced Matt Rule. Harbaugh's Michigan team lost to TCU Saturday in the college football playoff semifinals. That TCU team now headed to the national championship game Monday against Georgia. Reports from both teams beginning with our Gene Wojciechowski.
If you keep track of these sort of things, you'll remember TCU was a 7.5-point underdog to Michigan in the college football playoff semifinals. TCU won, and the experts were so impressed, they made TCU nearly a 14-point underdog to Georgia in the national championship game. But that's okay. TCU is used to being underestimated and overlooked.
I enjoy that role of, that role of having to wake up every day and go earn it. And I think it's good for our players. I mean, that's kind of the way life is.
Oh, they're legit, dude. They're really good. But I mean, heck, dude, who's not at this point? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody, you're going to play at this point. Everybody's going to be good. Everybody's going to have NFL guys all across the board. And, it's a challenge for us, but why not? To be the best, you got to beat the best. So bring it on, right?
Once an underdog, always an underdog. TCU was picked to finish 7th in the Big 12 preseason poll. Quarterback Max Duggan remembers those predictions and said he chose to ignore them. Now Duggan and the Horned Frogs get another chance to prove everyone wrong. And now with the Georgia Bulldogs, let's go to Mark Schlabach.
Thanks, Gene. On Monday night, Georgia will attempt to become the first team in the college football playoff era to win back-to-back national championships. The last team to do it, Alabama in 2012. Bulldogs coach Kirby Smart was a defensive coordinator on that team. On Tuesday, he told us why it's so difficult to repeat.
I know how hard it is to do because there's a lot of times we didn't do it, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we did it once, but while we were there, we won 4, and we're only able to repeat once. And it's really hard to do because human nature is to relax. And when people pat you on the back, human nature is to say, I'm good, I've done a good job. And, we won it last year, let's take a year off. I also had the great fortune of having a really good team last year, and our staff and our organization did such a good job with that team, but we lost all of them. So it was like starting over. So the motivation job was probably not as hard as most repeats are.
Smart told anyone who would listen this summer that Georgia was built to sustain and wasn't a one-hit wonder. He believed Georgia would be a good team this season, but wasn't sure it was championship caliber. On Monday night, he'll find out. Back to SportsCenter.
Georgia TCU Monday night. You'll hear it here on ESPN Radio. You'll see it via the MegaCast all over the ESPN networks. SportsCenter All Night presented by Dr. Pepper. It ain't college football season without the delicious taste of an ice-cold Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve. A former athlete who thought what he saw Monday night was eerily similar to a play he was involved in a quarter of a century ago. That's next. SportsCenter All Night, ESPN Radio.
More SportsCenter all night. Next.
Taken by LeBron. LeBron ahead to Schroeder.
Every moment of the Lakers happens here.
Schroeder to LeBron. Reverse on an alley-oop. Turn around and throw it in reverse. He reverse dunked off an alley-oop pass.
The LeBron Show just can't be stopped.
Dunk of the year by LeBron.
The home of LeBron James and the Lakers is right here.
710 ESPN.
And this place is buzzing.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Once upon a time, our family had trouble with pests around our home. Did you know that stinging insects send tons of people to the hospital? And teeny ticks and mosquitoes can be all around the yard. Their bites can make people and their pets sick. Mice, rats, and roaches need food and water just like us. You do not want them to visit. They can spread disease and make it hard to breathe. I'm sure glad this story has a happy ending.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
I noticed that my central vision started to blur.
Figures that are usually straight started to distort to become wavy.
What are these little dark spots with blurring that I'm seeing?
There's a blind spot like a blob over my vision now.
Is my vision lost forever? Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist in a timely manner have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Don't delay seeing a retina specialist. It's worth the visit to save your vision, so you don't miss out on life's precious moments, like seeing your grandchild grow up, enjoying a sunset with that special someone, or reading a good book. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
LA's mega sports station.
710 ESPN.
SportsCenter all night continues with Jay Reynolds.
The number 3 team in the nation survives with a 3-point win. More on that straight ahead. SportsCenter all night, ESPN Radio. We know Damar Hamlin's charity has seen a load of donations since Monday night, $6 million worth. It was a charity he started as a toy drive a couple of years ago. What kind of person is Damar Hamlin? His Bills teammate, Deion Dawkins.
He's a beautiful, unique soul. Like I'm rocking his brand. He is a CEO. He's a creator. He's a nurturer, and he's a true person. You know, like he's a true person to his individual self. He comes in every day. He's very swaggy. He shows himself. He shows his personality and through his clothes. He doesn't say too much. He just grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. And, you know, and he makes the world smile with how he plays and with his effort and coming to meetings and being on time and being present and just doing his job, his 111 that he takes so serious. And for any person that could make it to the NFL where he is from, it just shows that he is a fighter. And for that being a fighter, that is the full creation of his person, that he's strong and he's built to fight. And that's why he's fighting now.
Hamlin in critical condition, sedated in the hospital where, of course, he's being monitored and tested following the crisis, the dire situation during Monday Night Football. As for where the NFL heads from here, ESPN insider Adam Schefter.
The NFL never was going to play this game last night, and it announced today in a memo that Commissioner Goodell sent out to the executives and the head coaches on all 32 teams that this game is not being resumed this week. That was the way it was phrased, this week. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't make it up at some point in time, but it certainly doesn't sound like they will. It doesn't sound like it's good karma to go do that. I think the league understands that, and right now the league is saying, for the time being, that the Week 18 schedule that was adjusted yesterday stands, and those games currently are scheduled to be played. So if we're talking from just a football perspective, which is totally separate than the hopes and prayers that every single person has for Damar Hamlin, yes, this game from last night is not being played again this week. Yes, the games this week are scheduled to go on, and we will see how this all unfolds in the coming days.
No changes at this point to the Week 18 schedule. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. Chris Pronger, former NHL defenseman. It was during the 1998 Stanley Cup playoffs when he was hit in the chest with a puck in a game against the Detroit Red Wings.
We were killing a penalty. They had gone D to D, and I was stepping out to block the shot. It hit me right in the heart, directly. I mean, it couldn't hit me any more in the heart. And what happened was it was commotio cordis, which is you skip a heartbeat. And so when I get hit, it happens to a lot of Little League baseball players. They get hit with a line drive, what have you. I got hit in the heart. My heart thought it beat, so I skipped one beat, and that was enough. The lack of oxygen to my brain in one heartbeat was enough to put me down. I got hit. It kind of burned a little bit.
And as for the aftermath of that situation?
I think not till I got to the rink before Game 3 and was, talking to the guy. I pretty much stayed away. I went to the hospital that night, while Game 2 was finishing up. Stayed in the hospital that night. Got back to St. Louis, lunchtime. Stayed away from I didn't go near the rink because I didn't want to talk to media and stuff. There was nothing really to say. I needed to see the heart specialist and kind of go through all that stuff. Went home, took it easy, and more out of deference to the heart specialist saying, just don't do anything. Just kind of go home and kind of lay low.
For Pronger, what he saw Monday night certainly coming close to home. Doctors telling Pronger that the puck that hit his chest caused his heart to skip a beat. Pronger tweeting he's praying Damar Hamlin can ultimately have a similar outcome to his situation. Sports Center all night, ESPN Radio. Pronger was with the Blues at the time. Blues last night, a shootout win over Toronto. Austin Matthews, a goal and an assist, reaching 500 career points. Fourth youngest in history to 500 behind Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin. Ovechkin scores twice. Washington loses to Buffalo, but Ovechkin now has 808 career goals. Rangers 5-3 win over Carolina. Hurricanes have their franchise record 11-game win streak come to an end. College hoops, Kentucky by 3 over LSU, their 28th straight home win. Second longest active streak in D1 behind Gonzaga's 75. Texas Tech was at 29 straight home wins, but they fall to third-ranked Kansas 75-72. Jayhawks getting 16 from Jalen Wilson. 15 or more points in 3 straight games, double digits in all 14 this season. ESPN analyst Seth Greenberg.
Jalen Wilson's just a winning player. First, before we even get into the end of the game, what happened? I mean, you think about how hard these two teams competed, but Jalen Wilson's a guy that he knows exactly who he is, right? And what he does to this basketball team, he brings leadership. He brings toughness. He coaches the locker room. He sets the standard. And you know what? When you have an upperclassman like him, everyone else follows him.
Third-ranked Kansas gets a win. Sixth-ranked Texas, meanwhile, falls at home to K-State.
Noel with the ball. Fans on there standing up now. Oh, yeah. This has been an incredible game. Here's Noel. Left side 3. Yes!
Wyatt Thompson from Learfield. Marquise Noel, 6 of 10 from 3. 36 on the night. K-State beats Texas 116-103. On the pro court, Celtics might like to forget last night's game against the Thunder.
Celtics were down 1 after the first quarter. They gave up 88 points combined between quarters 2 and 3 and got run out of this building tonight. Worst loss of the season, worst loss in a long time for this squad. Your final score here in Oklahoma City, the Thunder 150 and the Celtics 117.
98.5 The Sports Up. You heard it right. OKC drops 150 on the Celtics, second most the franchise has ever seen against them. Giannis 55 for the Bucks as they beat Washington. That'll do it for Sports Center all night. I'm Jay Reynolds. It's Wednesday, January 4th. Career high for Giannis. Donovan Mitchell back on the court off his 71-point performance. We have a college football championship in a matter of days. KJM gets you set and, of course, has the latest on DeMar Hamlin. They're next. It's ESPN Radio.
Coming up next, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on.
What is going on, Laker fans? Alan Slewa here. Want to introduce something brand new on our YouTube channel, ESPN LA. You got to get on there. You got to subscribe. Lakers Talk Daily. Monday through Friday, we're putting out Lakers content. We're reacting to games. So we're coming up with topics that we think Laker fans are interested in, and we're doing it Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, and it's all on ESPN LA. So get out on YouTube. Get on our ESPN LA page. Subscribe to the channel. And, of course, we read off your comments, and we get topics specifically from you.
Anyone who has ever needed